Unikami here. Welcome to my third tutorial on login and register for the Android device. So in this tutorial we're going to set up the database. So I'm using 000 web host, which is free, and to set up the database you first go to cPanel, which is right here, and you create a MySQL database by entering a name, username, and the password. So you just create a database there, but I've already created one, so I just have to go on PHP my admin to get access to my database. So this is it right here. So I've created a user table, so that's easy to do. You come over here, you write user, you give it the amount of fields you want, but I'll show you what my user table has. So it has a name, age, username, and password, and the name, username, and password can hold a string up to 16 characters long, and an age can hold a tiny int. And I've chosen to use a tiny int because someone's age is not gonna go above 256 or 55. I forgot the actual amount, so this is a perfect data type to use for the age. And the user ID allows each record to be unique. So if a user has if two users have the same name, age, and password, and actually, to be honest, you don't really need a user ID because the username already makes it unique. But just for simplicity, I'm going to use a user ID. All right. So now we need to create PHP files, which will allow us to access the register, which will allow us to store information on the database from the app, and also to get information from the database from the app. So the first thing we need to do is create a register.php file like I've done here, and we need to connect to the database which we've just created. So when you create a database, you get the host, your username, your password, and the database name for you to connect to the database, and you do it by calling the MySQL connect function. So now we need to actually get the information that has been sent to this PHP file. So we need to first get the name by doing this. I'll explain to you guys what this does in more detail soon. So you get the name. Sorry about that. You need to get the age of the user who's registering, the username, and you need to finally get the password. Right? So when a user registers, this PHP file will be called, and from the Android app we need to post to this PHP file the name, age, password, and username. Right? So now we need to actually store these the values in the database. So we need to create a statement, MySQL prepared statement, which allows us to store information in the database. First we need to pass it the database connection so it knows which database we're working with, and now we need to enter the SQL statement. So it goes like this: insert into, we need to give it the table while we're working with, and right now we're working with the user table, so insert into user, and it needs to know which field we will be inserting into. So that's the name, age, username, and password field. So name, age, username, and password, and also it needs to know the values we are inserting into. You can put the values here, name, and age, and so on, right? But this allows SQL injection. Someone can actually just write an SQL statement as the username, and they'll be able to mess up a lot of things. So we'll just do it this way. It's better. So question mark, which tells the prepared statement that we need to pass a parameter to it. So we pass the parameter like this, so bind param. So we need to know what statement we're passing the parameters to, so we'll give it the statement variable that we just defined there. And now it needs to know the data type that we'll be passing into it. So is name, which is string for S, I, which is an integer, so I, username string, password string, and now we need to actually pass the parameters onto it that will basically take up replace this question mark when it's run. So it will be name for the first one, then the age, and then we want the username, and we want the password. So this stops SQL injection because the values and the SQL statement are treated separately. So now we need to execute this statement. So we actually need this runs everything we've just created. So we do it like that, statement. And finally, we just need to close the statement after it's been executed. So close statement. So this is what deals with a user registering. Now, next, we need to actually create a PHP file which will allow us to access information from the database. This is more complex than the other, than the register.php, but we'll find a way around this. So first we need to do is get the username and password of the user who we're trying to fetch the information about. So just the same as last time. So you do the post, and now we need to do another prepared statement, but this time we need to get information in the prepared statement. So first you give it a parameter so it knows what database we're working with, and now the statement we need is select star means everything, so select everything from the user table, which is what we're working with, where, so we need to tell it what which record we want to select. So we want to select the record where the username and password are the same, so where username is equal to, and we're going to do a question mark again just like last time to stop SQL injection, and password is equal to that. Alright, so now we have to bind the parameters just like last time. So bind param, it needs to know which statement we're binding, and so it's the data type is a string and a string, so SS, and we actually need to pass the variables to it, so like that. Same as last time, we need to execute the statement, but now in this statement executing is not enough. We need to also get back data that has been returned when you execute it. Since you're selecting everything from the user table, it would actually return the record where the username and password is the same as what has been given to us in this PHP file. So whatever has been returned in a statement, the first thing we need to do is actually store it, and you do that by doing this. So you store it on a buffer by doing that, store result. Okay, like that. Yep. So now you've stored the result. Let me just copy that. Alright, so once you've stored the result, you need to actually name the result that has been returned. So you need to name each field of the result that has been returned, and we're just going to name each field. So you do it like by doing this. So you have to bind the result. So we're working with the result from the statement, so we pass that onto it, and now we need to give the result name. So the first field in the result will be the user ID, so it will be the same order as it appears on the table. So it will be the user ID, name, age, username. So user ID, name, age, username, and password. So what this allows us to do is when we're trying to retrieve the information which we've stored, we can just refer to them as these variables that we have up here. So we don't actually have to name it a username. We can just name it a username 1 or username 2 or whatever. So that's that. And now we need to create an array which will hold the data of the user who's returned. So we'll just call that array user. Alright. So now we need to go through all the results that was returned right here, that was returned in the statement, but it's always going to be one result that is returned. So this while loop that I'm about to create will only run once. So while, this is how you get all the results that has been returned. You have to basically fetch all the results that has been returned. So stmt fetch from the statement we made up there, so like that. So this would give us all the record that matches this statement right here. So all the records that where the username and password are equal to whatever we posted to this PHP file. So firstly we need to store the name that is returned. I remember we gave the return name here, so name will give us the name of the record that has been returned, and now we need to get the age. Also, we might want to get the username, but there's no point because we already know the username will be the same as that there, but let's just do that. And we need to also get the password that has been returned. So now basically what this does is gets the the record in the table user, where the username and password are equal to what's here, and it stores it in this array right here. So now we need a way to send the array back to the phone so the phone can receive the data. So you do this by doing echo JSON encode. So that turns this into a JSON, turns the array into a JSON echo. And yeah, finally we need to close the statement that we've just created. So dot close. I'll just copy that. Yeah, I'm lazy. Alright, so that's the fetch user data. In our next tutorial, we'll see how we can actually access this data we just encoded and sent back to the phone. So now finally, we need to store these two PHP files in our server so we can access it from the phone, and you do that by going here, back to your cPanel, and I always use another file manager. So this is a way to so you just upload file. As you can see, I've already uploaded fetch user data and register.php. So for now, from the phone, if we call the website, we can actually get access to these two PHP files here and be able to send data to the my SQL database and also receive data from the SQL database. So thank you for watching this tutorial. In the next tutorial, part 4, is that part 4? Yeah, part 4, we'll look at how we can actually send the data to these PHP files and retrieve data from these PHP files. Thank you for listening. Adios, guys.